Hey everyone, Mecha here. This is the last part of the tier list review for Fire Emblem Shadows of Valentia with Peeved Latias. We can talk about this topic for hours, and so we did. That is why I split our discussion of the Alm route units in two. Previously, you could hear Peeved's interesting takes on the Ram villagers and the Armor Knights in this game, and in this part we will go over the remaining units on Alm route, such as Alm himself, Tatiana, Mycen, the mage siblings, and of course, Clive and Mathilda. I hope you enjoy.
Okay, so I guess lightning rounds?
Yes, let's go.
Mycen to D tier, I'd say below Noma, but above Jesse. He's filler.
Oh, you mean E tier?
He's the same thing. Yeah.
Yeah.
He's basically in the same.
So between them? Yeah.
In between, yeah.
Yeah.
He's got basically the same issue as Noma, in that while he's not amazing, his speed in particular is really bad. He can still contribute an okay amount, and it's like, who else are you bringing? In my list, because just like last time I made a list of who I would bring to Alm Act 5, I would bring like Alm, Cliff, Faye, Silque, Tatiana, Zeke, Clive or Mathilda, Python, Tobin. We're at 9. Who's the last one, right? It's gotta be Mycen.
Yeah.
So that's where I'd put him. Okay, who else? Speed rounds. Tatiana, I'd put her in D.
Yeah, because
I would
kind of just
probably put her above Sonya.
Kind of similar to Faye. If you accept that her physics isn't very good, then you can probably see why Tatiana's physics isn't very good either. Basically, right?
Yeah.
And then everything else
that's part
has
of
to be
it.
grinded up.
That's part of it, but I'd also argue that her physic is worse, because the very important master physic I've already passed by the time Tatiana gets there.
Mm-hmm.
And she's not reaching warp. Not in an efficient setting. For casuals, she will. But even then, the second warp is arguably less valuable than the first one. In the case of like a Seize game, you could argue it's the same value because you need to warp 2 people. You know, boss killer plus lord. But this is a route game. And it's very rare that the second warp will actually save you a turn. In terms of flexibility, it's really nice. But again, it is less valuable than getting the ability to do it at all. And it takes a while to get, man. You need to get her like level 8.
What's her base? 1? 2?
1.
Ouch. Yeah, I think I grind. Whenever I use her casually, I just grind her in the forest because it's like the fastest way to get levels. But
if you want to grind her, I'd tell you to send her to the secret shrine instead.
Oh yeah, it has a lot of those golden guys as well.
Yes.
But I like the forest sometimes because it has fiends as well as golden guys. But doesn't really matter.
Remember that the forest is on Silque's side.
Oh right, yeah. I guess it was around the same time.
Like I assumed you meant, like I assumed you meant like the Silver Shrine when you said that, but then you said fiends. Now it's Silque's side.
Yeah, no, I don't know why I thought then. Maybe I suicide revived her or something. I don't know. Maybe it's like, I don't know.
Maybe
like
guide on brain.
Yeah, maybe guide on the brain. I don't know. Where'd she say she goes?
I put her above Sonya. Conrad contributes a little more via like actual combat versus witches, and yeah.
Sure.
Okay. Who else?
We have the mages, and we have the cavaliers are not speed round, obviously. Maybe Zeke, I guess,
well, here's a quick one. I'd put Claire above Valbar.
Oh wow, that's you've come so far, Claire. Yeah, I'm actually curious what you do with Claire. I've heard you say like she can block heal tiles.
Yeah, and that's incredibly significant because if you can't one around an enemy, they will retreat, and if you block a heal tile, they will not retreat. So the big map for this is 3-5, that's the Cavalier map. She is 2 turns away from the heal tile, so on turn 1, enemy phase happens, and on turn 2, you've got her on the heal tile. So the enemies will not go into retreat AI, and that's very significant because unless you have like a super blessed merc, or you're willing to not forge a killer bow, which would be very bad, chances of one-rounding, especially with Cliff, are kind of low. So by blocking heal tile, the enemies that hit Cliff on turn 1 will suicide on turn 2. And that saves you a lot of time. There's also like situations where she can be used to bait a witch or like to bonk them. I like using her to bait Delthea, for instance, in Sluice Gate. Because she has really good res, and then she can just run away after Delthea tries to hit her. She can bait the witch in the safe ward so that the witch is not on a forest tile and you're able to kill her with like Clive or something. I also like using her for swap in Act 1 and further. She can do combat versus very specific units in like LTC or efficiency, whereas she's like the only one that can reach them because of flight. Namely like the soldier on the ramparts of Delthea Gate. I get that's a little specific, but it is something she can do. Like the thing is, Claire basically wins utility by being able to do tiny things very frequently. Like, she's never doing a huge contribution, but like swapping someone every turn, it's basically like having a pair of boots stuck to them.
I agree.
Except you can choose who has the boots every turn.
Yeah, and I think it sounds a bit like Valbar, utility-wise. Like, obviously Valbar is just like really good in some maps and like minor things in other maps, but it does seem like it's the right place for her to be.
Valvar also has shove, which I neglected to mention last time, but that's like way more on the LTC side, because in a casual playthrough you just end turn and walk another turn.
Yeah.
Swap, I'd say, is more significant than that, because it's like the context in which you use it. A lot of the time the swap will allow you to put yourself in range of an enemy in a way that's more advantageous to the formation, like especially if it's an enemy that moves. But a lot of the enemies that you're trying to reach with Valvar Shove are like static until you're in their range anyways. For instance, getting across the swamps in Act 4, or getting across the desert in Act 2, or Act 3 even. Okay.
Alright.
Who else? The mages, I guess?
Yeah.
Luthier was really popular for a long time. I don't understand why. He has like no availability. Or rather, he's not good for the first like half of his availability, and then he's not amazing for the second half of the availability. So here's the thing: his best map is Desai, because he has Excalibur, and Desai has really high defense and HP, so you can crit him. So he's like in a decent position to do that, you'd think, right? But if you go into his village, you risk a map spawn showing up and just ruining your life. So you're probably better just ignoring Luthier and coming back once you've already fought Desai, and then it's like, what is my purpose?
Yeah, my experience with Luthier, my last Iron Man run against that artist, I actually had that fight in mind when I recruited Luthier, but I was very disappointed with like the way it worked out, because I don't remember exactly the way it went, but I felt like Luthier was just too fragile and lost too much HP from combat to go up to the front line and actually like risk an attack. I felt like I couldn't do turn wheel because it was an Iron Man playthrough, and so I think I had to like crit or dodge to get through it in the first place. To do anything reliable, I couldn't leave him on the front lines because any other enemy there has like really high attack. It was like a very risky strategy with Luthier putting him in the front.
To be fair with turn wheel, over one turn wheel use, he has something like a 70-ish% chance of actually critting the enemy in the first place. That's pretty good. But even outside of that, guess what? Mage Tobin exists.
Yeah, probably. If he doesn't, you probably have Armor Knight Tobin, who's also really good there. So either way, Tobin is like kind of making useless.
I actually pulled up the stats for Tobin and Luthier at base versus what Tobin would be around then, just for fun. So I would expect Tobin to be like 4-8, because he can get 2 levels as a villager, and he should, because that way he has a chance of proccing speed, right? Like, it's probably a better speed investment, or level investment, than getting like level 4 Cliff or something. And then level 8 as a mage, by Desai, I think is fairly reasonable, because you want him to be at 6 for Excalibur in the first place with an Act 1, and then he's probably doing some combat in Act 1 with Excalibur. Maybe he hits like 7. And then like 1 level over 3 maps is extremely reasonable, if you ask me.
Yeah.
You're looking at 30 versus 28 HP. Basically, Tobin is like 1 less attack, but 1 more speed, and that's before accounting for speed wells. If Tobin got speed wells, he has 3 more speed than Luthier, and 1 more defense. So it's like, what's Luthier's purpose here? He's worse than Mage Tobin at being an Excalibur bot. I guess having a second one isn't awful, but it's not that helpful either. And like, if you look at the maps after Desai, the Cav map, they do nothing.
Yeah.
The Archer map, they do nothing. Sluice Gate, they do nothing.
Yeah. I mean, I've said it before, but mages long-term in Almrout just feel like they just do not work due to a combination of like bad mobility, bad durability, and hitting on res isn't even always that helpful.
Yep. Now, I would put him exactly next to Delthea, and that's because while Delthea joins at a lower base level, she actually has like arguably better bases, which is really funny to me. And then she also has better growths, so, you know, better bases, better growths, arguably better spell lists if you want to use her long term because of Seraphim.
Mm-hmm.
And yeah, she has less availability, but as I pointed out like a moment ago, like Luthier does nothing in the maps, he has availability over her. Is availability really an advantage if you can't do anything? Like, let's say you got a flyer, right, in map 1, but the first 5 maps have literally nothing but archers, and also they have more defense than that unit's attack. Do you actually give points for availability if they literally cannot do anything?
Yeah, I think Luthier's credit, like the majority of his credit for like all the availability he has before Delthea is just the same map. I don't even think that was that great, let alone everything else that comes after. Like, availability can't be everything. It has to like be actually meaningful utility to really matter. So yeah,
like you have to do something during availability.
Mm-hmm. And like
now,
unit slots are free even, and he's still not doing much.
Yeah. Now I'd put him above her. Where would I put them? I would put them below Tatiana.
Damn, get wrecked. But honestly, after that analysis, I can't see it any other way.
Yeah. I will say Delthea long term is pretty fun. Some people will say not to promote her because she gets swords, which can be a legitimate disadvantage. Because part of what Delthea can do is you can give her like a shield and have her counter attack enemy armor knights once she's grown a little. And that is like legitimately like something to consider. But she also gets bulkier if you promote her, so I would personally promote her over not promoting her to get her bulkier.
Yeah, I enjoyed promoting Delthea when I did it. It was obviously not anywhere near efficient context, but I felt like I had a May on Almstrout almost. It's the same class and everything.
Yeah. The thing is, her performance at base is actually really good, right? Like, she like 2 rounds or 3 rounds Armor Knight, something like that. She actually lives a hit from them if you give her a shield, so she can even enemy face for a little bit of EXP. She has really high res, and she does really high damage to mages because of Aura having like really fat might. And she has really good EXP gain and really good growths. So like, if you train her, she's gonna become good like really fast. She's probably the best long-term mage on Alm route. It's just that a mage in general is not that good on Alm route.
Yeah.
Mostly because the maps are too big.
Yeah.
And you have more important people to warp.
Yeah, I do remember that most of the mages feel a bit underwhelming sometimes because when they fight enemy mages, they have kind of poor res, and then Delthea doesn't really have that problem because she has so much might that she can pierce their res, and then she doesn't take much damage in return.
But she has really high res.
Yeah, so she works out much better in that way too. So it feels like she's more of a purpose. She's also better at like, well, mostly that, really. And then her one-hit attack power is also like pretty good with Aura. Okay.
Yeah. And then Seraphim's really useful later, which is another advantage she has over long-term Luthier.
Yeah.
Since you don't fight a lot of fiends on Almrad in general, but you do fight a decent amount in Act 5.
I agree.
Okay, is there anyone else in the speed rounds that you're seeing? Or are we entering the big leagues?
I'm afraid we're going to have to go into either Alm or the Cavs. And I think that's it. I guess
let's go with Alm so we can keep the Clive clickbait for last time. Okay. Alm. I'm too excited for Clive, I'm sorry.
I can tell.
So Alm, okay. I believe he's in A-. I believe he's above Silque. So he's really
lords
in
at one tier.
Yeah.
That's funny.
That's an FE4 moment.
Yeah.
Now here's the thing. He is your best unit for like early Act 1 before you get Lightning Sword. But he's not good at using the Lightning Sword, so even if you didn't want your Merc to level up, right? Like, maybe if you're not using a Merc, Alm's not a good user of it. Why? Lightning Sword's heavy. Alm is not fast.
He gets doubled by calves, right?
Not early, anyways. He gets doubled by calves, yeah. He also, I think he's feed ties. Actually, does he? What's his base feed? I think it's 8. Alm. 6. He gets doubled by soldiers with it.
Oh yeah, I saw that too.
Yeah, because Lightning Sword has, I believe, 3 weight. So he has 3 AS, and the basic level 2 soldiers have 4 speed. So, just not very helpful, right?
No, it becomes chipping, and if you're chipping with the lightning sword, that's just humiliating, because that weapon is so good when you actually double.
Yeah.
Like, almost you're like your first Jagan, and the lightning sword is the second one. If you combine them, you shouldn't get a worse unit.
Yeah, and like, I'm not trying to say you should avoid using Alm, but rather you should use him when convenient. The case I'm making is that before Act 4, it's actually not convenient to use him in a lot of cases. Like, he's going to be basically chip for most of Act 1. And then in Act 3, he's not the best unit in any map, even if you're going out of your way to use him. He's not the best unit in the first map. That's probably Clive. You know, in the second map, we already talked about the Mercs. You know, the Cavalier maps, both of them, can't use the Riders main, can't counter Archers, can't counter Arcanists. When is he the best unit, right? When are you going to give him all that favoritism?
I've been saying this for, not literal years, but I've been saying it like since my Let's Play. I've been saying like, almost good in Act 1 for like almost being a Jagan. I kind of loses out to the Lightning Sword, but other than that, he's pretty good. Like, you should use him whenever you want to get some XP on someone else. But if he gets to get a kill somewhere, okay, that's fine, whatever. If he crits someone, you know, it's inconvenient when you're leveling other people up, but it's not the worst thing in the world. And then Act 3, he just has bad unit feel too. It's just never that good. You made like top 3s for like every map, I remember that. I was like, almost even close to these units anyway. He's kind of trash. And it's not because I didn't use him in Act 1. Like, even if you give him Act 1 XP like another unit, he's still not that good in those maps.
You can screen cap that message and put it on screen if you want, like, to show what I think are the best units for like Act 3 maps.
Yeah.
Like, beyond that, right? What do you get for all that effort to train him? Because as I said, and as will maybe be demonstrated if the thing is edited in, like, what do you get if you do train Alm? Well, the break-even-ish level, I believe, is level 15. If you get Alm all the way to level 15, you get +1 attack and plus 2 defense over base Alm.
Yeah, when you promote to his like promoted class, or whatever it's called.
Yeah, to hero.
Yeah.
Like, you've put all this effort into him using a unit that's not that good, and your reward is a unit that promotes into a good unit that would have promoted into a good unit anyways.
Yeah, because like, just to reiterate, he goes up to his hero class basis no matter what you do. Even if you never use Alm, he still goes up to his hero basis in Act 4, start of Act 4.
Yeah. Now, I also want to address the royal sword-shaped element in the room, Silque's personal weapon. Here's the problem with the royal sword. It takes 20 weapon EXP to get double lion, and that's a ton of combat. I believe that's 40 rounds of combat, if memory serves, because you get like half a weapon EXP per fight or something. Might be wrong on that. Even if it's 20, right? Let's say it's 20, because I don't really have time to look it up right now. That is still 20 rounds of combat after the say. When is he going to get those? Against the Cavs? No, he's not. That's, you know, the Clive and Merc show. They kill everything. Against the archers that he doesn't counter? Of course not. In the Arcanist map in Sluice Gate? No. When's he getting, you know, double lion? And then after that, you can just give him a killer bow anyways, which is 1 less smite, but it has 1 to 3 range and better crit.
Yeah, and a pretty similar utility in like nuking whatever you do with your combat art on player phase. But then the enemy phase is so much better that I like Killer Bow much better too. Yeah. I think the only...
But also you can avoid a crit. Or, sorry, avoid a counter.
Yeah. I think there are 2... Oh, there's like 3 pros to Royal Sword that I can think of that I've seen people bring up. It's been a while since I've had this debate. One of them is the passive healing, which I think is okay, but if we can like discount Physic as being a significant contributor, then I think it's also fair to say that Royal Sword's passive healing is not that great. The second...
Alm literally has convoy access. You can just eat something if you need HP.
Yeah, which is like, it costs player phase, but whatever. It also heals more whenever you do it. So over the course of the...
Well, guess what? Guess what though? He already has a worse enemy phase as a Royal Sword user, so it kind of balances out. I'd say.
Yeah. At the very least, I would say you still get more combat in overall if you use Killer Bow on enemy phase and you eat every player phase, which you don't even do. And then there's the second one is Subdue for Delthea, which I think is whatever. Like, you have other methods.
What? Actually, I'm gonna crack that a little. I wouldn't say you actually see more enemy phase on Alm with Killer Bow. You do versus Arcanists specifically, but Alm doesn't have good res, so you can't fight that many of them. 1 or 2 is still more than 0, but it's not that many of them. And he's not gonna counter archers because they outrange him.
Yeah, at that point you only face
the
snipers
actual-
plus, right? Like no generic archers anymore
Yeah.
with like 1/3.
The actual really good thing is that you're dodging a counter in the first place. So if you take 5 damage from a counter, because you didn't get countered, you've already matched Royal Sword healing.
Yeah, that's a fair way to look at it too. And then Subdue, I think we can agree, is just not that good. I think it's only really useful for Delthea or maybe feeding people, but like, whatever.
Yeah, here's the thing about Delthea. You can actually rig Witch AI. If a Witch teleports to you and you turn wheel, they're not going to teleport to you again. Doesn't work 100% of the time, but like Delthea is such a non-issue.
Yeah, I agree. Then like, there's other ways to hit Delthea to low HP so that she doesn't do anything anymore.
You can like if you like unequipped Claire or something, she can like bring Delthea really low. You can also just throw Claire in a corner and just bait Delthea, or you can just move your Killer Bow Foresight. Fine, that would be sick. Killer Bow Python up to the boss and just shoot him in the face, and Delthea is no longer an issue.
Yeah, because she leaves the map if their tower dies, right?
Yes.
Yeah. And there was one more thing that I liked about Royal Sword that's escaping. Oh, I think people were saying it's like, we've sometimes mentioned that there's a limited amount of good swords, and a Royal Sword is like technically an okay one. Like it's, even if you don't forge it, it's like not a terrible sword, but I still feel like unless you forge it, it's just not powerful enough, so we weren't using Overkill Bow.
You get it after the say though. Which is when you can forge. So at that point, what you usually do is you'll ditch your lightning sword and forge the rusted sword into the steel sword, and then maybe into the silver sword if you need a little extra might.
Yeah, but that won't go to your merc, so you still have...
Yeah, but let's say you did want to use Vode, you could forge the iron sword into a steel sword.
Yeah.
Or just use a forge iron.
Yeah, so basically sword availability, not a real issue. And then some people argue that because you get a ton of money from the Sage Fortress, that you have enough money to actually forge the Royal Sword. But the Royal Sword's forge is so expensive, and you can still spend that gold on other things that are better. So I really don't think that you should treat the Royal Sword forge options as a free forge. Like, I get that it's convenient that you get the gold right as you get the forge option, but I really don't think it's fair to just assume, oh, I got 3 gold along with the Royal Sword, I'm just gonna forge the Royal Sword.
Mm-hmm. So I know I'm pretty efficiency brained when it comes to SoV, and maybe if you don't care about efficiency as much, it's not as big of a deal. But I think most people can agree that if you're looking at the optimal forges, you would be looking at a Max Forge Rider span to deal with all the cavs for now until the rest of the game, and you'd also be looking at a Killer Bow for 3-6 and Endgame. That's the Archer map and Sluice Gate. And after that, you just don't have that much money left. Like, especially because the Royal Sword wants gold to be forged really high. Well, you only need silver to forge like a steel lance or to forge a sword for your merc. And also, when you resell a steel lance, when you resell a forge, you get, I believe, half of the value of the forge back. But you can't get the gold back from selling the Royal Sword. In fact, I'm pretty sure you can't sell it at all.
No.
So if you're using it as a temporary weapon, which you should be because you can get a better weapon in Act 4, then it's definitely not worth forging.
Yeah, you know why you can't sell the Royal Sword?
Why?
It's because you can't sell personal weapons, and it's Silque's personal weapon. Oh, got him.
Oh, true.
Yeah. I mean, I'm not against keeping the Royal Sword around as an option sometimes for Alm. Like, occasionally whipping it out when you need it to, or put it on him when you don't have, like, when he's not promoted yet. But I really don't think it's the best option for the best pathway for Alm, let's say.
Yeah.
And Double Line is nice, but I think Hunter's Volley is still just better.
Yeah, pretty much. So I put him above Silque because despite all the shitting on Act 3 that I did, like, he's really good in Act 4. His bases are insane, like 16 attack, 14 speed. It's going to double most things. It's going to kill most things with a hit and crit, maybe even without a crit when he gets some more attack levels because he has good growths. He has good bulk, especially because he needs good bulk, so you give him all the bulk boosters so that he can survive his trials. Yeah, like 1-3 range Killer Bow is not as good as 1-5 range, but it's still better than not having 1-3 range.
Yeah, I think Alm is, I mean, I said it before, I think Alm is one of the best units in Act 4, easily, if not the best one. And one of the few relevant ones in Act 5, too.
He's also a good Rapier user when you Dread Loop loops. Like, if you Dread Loop, you're Dread. you'd have like 2 killer bow users, and you don't have a third one, but you can have him just use the sword that your Dread was using previously, which is either a Max Forge crit, or sorry, a Max Forge Brave, which is going to have like 50 crit, and then he still kills things, or like a Max Forge Rapier, and then he's really good against Armor Knights because, you know, Rapier.
I like it. Okay, yeah, so in summary, good in Act 1 as a backup plan / skill setuper. Bad in Act 3, then good again in Act 4, good in Act 5-ish. Just don't Royal Sword.
Yeah.
Did you say above Silque?
Yeah.
Okay, fair enough.
Because Silque's like your like 3rd best mage option in Act 2, and like if you're not using her, like if you do the thing of barely using a character and relying on class bases, she's good, but she's not as good.
Yeah, she's built different in a way. I like that they're still. I like that they get in A minus. Plus, how can you put Alm in any tier that doesn't start with an A? That doesn't make any sense.
True. Okay. Next up, I guess we've only got the Cavs left.
Oh no.
Oh,
no.
You know what? I can stall longer. Silque stays where she is, but I just want to complain that she needs 12 magic to do the magic warp in Zofia Gate that lets you jump over the wall. Because Silque really hates anyone who tries to LTC this game, she will often be at like 9 magic and force you to use all 3 attack boosters on her.
I am so sorry for your lots, but you kind of called it upon yourself the moment you said I'm going to SOV LTC, so no pity for me.
Yeah.
I'm sorry.
Yeah. But also, and I guess I should have mentioned this for Tatiana and Faye, Silque can Seraphim, which is extremely relevant in endgame because there's a lot of fiends and they have a ton of defense.
Yeah, if you don't need to warp, then you might as well fiend. Fiend kill.
Yeah.
Okay, so we obviously saved the best for last. Clive versus Mathilda. I actually made a tweet a while ago, you probably remember it, where I asked people for their
argued in the replies.
I saw that. I remember being like, hey guys, very objectively, very nicely, what do you think of Clive? The opinions were quite spread. They were quite spread out. But a lot of people don't like Clive, but they do really love Mathilda. What do you make of this?
So it's entirely a unit field thing. People do not look at this game critically, which is fine. It's a game. Play it how you want. But if we're talking about who's better on a tier list, Clive wins every day. The thing I said about 0% Clive being better than Mathilda, I'll admit, is a bit of an exaggeration. Well, is it? So
you go back and forth on this so hard.
Yeah, because like it sounds like such a hot take that it can't be correct, but when I go into details, like it'll make sense why I think that's the case. So here's the thing. Mathilda has a really garbage base level. She's level 1 and joins in tree 5 effectively because she's a green unit in tree 4. Tree 4 is to say. Now, Clive should be bare minimum level 1 or 2 paladin coming out of Act 1. Let's say that in Act 3, he gets 1 level per map, and you can get this extremely easily just by using him when he's convenient. He should already be level 4 or 5. That's like a 3 level lead. At that point, you're looking at Clive needing 6 levels of EXP, of which some can be EXP boosters because there's 3 EXP boosters in the Sylvan Shrine, while Mathilda needs 9 levels of EXP. And on top of that, her bulkhead base is actually below Paladin class bases, so she's less bulky than even 0% growth's Clive, which is kind of where my claim comes from. She does have better res, but you don't fight that many mages on Alm route. You fight witches, sure, but they don't really threaten Clive. They might chip him for a lot, but they're not going to kill him.
Whoa.
And
they have crit on him though, don't they?
Like 2 or 1 crit. Like sure, they have a little crit on him. And Clive doesn't have amazing luck, but like unless you're doing an Iron Man and you absolutely don't want to get crit, and you can't use your like 11 turn wheels, then it doesn't really matter.
Yeah, I actually agree. I was just setting it up. I was just setting it up.
And also, Clive will actually lift some crits from witches later on when he's a gold knight, anyways. And yeah, like the thing is, so what are Clive's quote-unquote issues? If you talk to most people, the first one is his accuracy. That's just a lie. Mathilda is more accurate, sure, but well, I shouldn't say it's a lie. It's more like a bad impression that people have that is false, because lying implies they're, you know, trying to deceive you on purpose. I don't think that's the case. I'm not that much of a Clive stan, right? But
it's because of the floor tiles, right?
Like,
in 1E, probably.
Yeah, it's because of the floor tiles. He has like worse luck than Mathilda, but barely less skill, right? Like a couple points. I don't have their numbers in front of me right now, but at most it'll amount for like 10 hit, maybe 11 hit. And Clive's got like 90 hit or something, and it's hybrid RN, so it's like 95. That's not unreliable. That's really reliable. Then you have to weigh that against the advantage of Clive being bulkier and having a higher base level, which means he promotes faster. When I say a higher base level, that's not true. I should say he has a higher level when she joins, assuming you've been using him.
Yeah, it's a level lead. So what I would usually put that at. Like 3 or 4 levels you said earlier.
Yeah, normally what's going to happen is that in the Cav map, he's going to reach level either 7 or 8, and then in the Archer map, he's going to reach 8 if he wasn't 7, or if he wasn't 8. And then he's going to get the XP Shines and go to Gold Knight, usually after Sluice Gate to avoid map spawns, but if you're feeling adventurous or you don't mind fighting them, you can promote before Sluice Gate as well. And the thing is, if you compare, like, let's say level 5 Mathilda or something to, like, base Gold Knight Clive, Clive's better. She has better growths, very slightly in attack, sure. Actually, I don't even know if that's true. I think she has 40 and he has 50. I'd need to look. It's not as big enough difference to affect my argument, though. She will not be as high in attack as Clive is, because Clive's going to have the base 18, and he's going to have base, I want to say 13 speed. It's either 13 or 12. Again, doesn't make a difference to the argument, because the point is, when he's a Gold Knight, he's going to be better than Mathilda in everything, because Mathilda is not going to be Gold Knight. You could say that's unfair, you should compare them at the same level, but that's not a real playthrough. They are not at the same level. He has a level lead.
Yeah, the only way they're the same level is if you grind Mathilda but not Clive, which is obviously not the context we can use here.
Yeah. So, okay, so I've established why I think Clive is better than Mathilda. In the very basics, right?
Yeah.
I guess I should specify how you should use him in case you want to replicate this. You want to promote him and give him 1 speed. Parts of what's really good about that is that with just 1 speed, he will double Cavaliers in the first map of Act 3, which lets him kill them really easily. He doesn't need a warp for this, though a warp does help. You just walk up there. Fun fact, Fernand actually has hard-coded AI where he will always attack Clive. So that's also pretty nice. And you can take out the Arcanus that's with them, like, after the cast kill themselves on him. You can do without, because those Cavs actually have really weird AI, where they do not go to a heal tile. They will keep attacking, even if they're below half HP. But I would still recommend you do it, because it's just a lot more convenient with the Arcanus if you one-round them. Because if you don't, what's going to happen is they're going to be at like half HP, the Arcanus heals them, and then you face another attack, and they take longer to kill, and it's just very inconvenient, so I would recommend you still do the Speed Booster. Then, in Arcanus Forest, he can finish off someone that Python is weakened. He lives one on counter, you can just swoop in and kill things. Again, not massive utility, but more utility than not existing. In the Berkut map, he might be your only Rider's Vein user if you're not using an Armor Knight. In the same map, doesn't do a lot. In the Cav map, though, he solos one side of the map with a Max Horde Rider's Vein. And the other Rider's Vein users just aren't as good as at doing it than he is. You need Claire blocking the tile, and besides that, she doesn't have good defense, or HP for that matter, so she's not good at it. The Armor Knights don't reach the enemies fast enough because they don't have a horse. Mathilda has worse defense. So that's, like, all of that EXP falls into Clive's lap just by using him when he's the best unit you have. And then you promote him, and he's really good in Act 4 because he's going to be able to use the Rider's Bane as a Gold Knight versus Berkut squad. He's also going to do really well versus the Armor Knights in that map because he's going to have Gold Knight bases. He's going to be really good against Cavs in the Fear Mountain map. And then after that, normally he stops being your main Cavalier because Zeke comes into existence, which I guess we have to talk about him now.
Yeah.
And the thing is, Zeke has 20 attack, 14 speed at base, and the magic number you want to hit is 16 speed. Keep in mind, this is within reach for Clive. He just needs 3 boosters instead of 2, because Zeke will take 2 boosters. But there's 5 speed boosters in Act 5, so that's still fine. If you wanted Clive to replace Zeke for whatever reason. Maybe you're doing a draft, or you just, you think Clive's prettier, I don't know.
You said Act 5, is that what you meant? Like, you need to hit that speed for Act 5?
4.
Okay.
I meant 4. It's relevant in 5, because it lets you... It makes you better against Recruit, but the more relevant one is the final map of Act 4's Cavaliers, where you're able to double them. Because if you're not able to one-turn the map by warping Cliff forward and just Hunter's Volley one-rounding Rudolph, which you're able to do with like 25 or so attack. If you're not able to do that, or you're just not willing to rig a double crit, and keep in mind, this is the first hit of the map, so you need to reset the entire game to rig it. You can't just turn wheel, because it's the first hit of the map. If you're not willing to do that, you're probably going to need to fight some of the Cavs, and 16 speed is the magic number for that.
Okay. Or you might just want to play it naturally for another reason, although it wouldn't be as efficient.
Yeah, sure. Yeah. Now, the 20 attack... lets you one round the Silver Shield or Gold Knights.
Whoa.
It also...
But Rider's Bane good, I guess.
Yeah, they are. It also, very relevantly, lets you 2-round the Barons in Last Bastion with a Steel +5.
Oh yeah, those guys. I remember them.
Yeah. They're at the end of the lane, and it's kind of a pain to get a mage there, so that's extremely relevant. And, your Bow Knight's probably not doing too hot against them. You'd need, like, quad crit or something.
Yeah.
Okay, so that's the Clive and Zeke, right?
The Clive and Zeke.
Clive's pretty likely to hit 20 attack, so it's actually not unreasonable for like Clive to hold the Steel Lens and fight some Barons while Zeke's holding the Rider's Bane or something.
No, not really. I think
so,
you said you might want to like only use one, like either ditch Clive for Zeke, or never use Zeke because Clive's that good.
No, you don't want to ditch them. If I said that, I misspoke. What I meant to say was that one of them will be your main Cavalier. The one that gets the speed booster is to use the Rider's Bane, and the other one will be on like Steel Lance duty.
Yeah. Flunky is better.
Now, ideally that would be Zeke, but in a Mathilda playthrough, you would probably use Mathilda as your main Cav, and then Zeke as the Steel Lance user, because Mathilda is going to hit 16 speed naturally. Like, that is her one advantage.
Yeah, being fast as fuck.
Side note, I just remembered, earlier on the villager section, I mentioned Cliff speed isn't an advantage. This is why. The speed threshold is 16, and the base is 13. You can reach it with all the Cavs. It literally doesn't matter.
Yeah, this is the most important speed threshold for Cavaliers to hit, is what you're saying.
Yeah.
Yeah, because the villager Cavs hit the other ones fine too, the earlier ones.
Yeah.
Okay.
So then the thing with Mathilda, her res, not that big of an advantage. It's huge for Sluice Gate, but even if you're not using her as like your main Cav, you can still use her for Sluice Gate. It's not like she's on deploy. Just give her a Steel Lance and have her kill something, right? Like, I'm not saying don't use her at all just because you can use Clive. I'm saying use Clive as your main Cavalier. And then Mathilda can just be convenient whenever she's convenient. She's really good at bonking witches, for one. I did that a lot in my 0% run. I had her bonk some witches. Because, like, her bases aren't awful. It's her base level that's a problem.
Yeah, and her physical bulk sometimes. Like, if you try to make her do the same thing as Clive, then it's a problem.
She will have good physical bulk later on. It's at base that her bulk is lower than bases.
Oh, yeah. It really comes in when you're, like, trying to kill, like, a horde of Cavaliers. That she can't do that. She has to, like, do them, like, 4 at a time and they get healed or something.
Yeah, because I want to emphasize that. The thing is, Clive will have 8 defense at base, but probably 9 or even 10 defense by the Cavalier map. Mathilda has 7 defense. You might say Clive gets doubled, but because he one-shots, he doesn't actually get doubled. He's just one-shotting in return, right? So they're not doubling him because they're dead. But Mathilda just does not have the defense, so she takes like 2 or 3 more damage per hit, and on top of that, she has lower HP.
Yeah, I remember having to... I wanted to use her, and I tried in that map, but like I said, I had to peel off like 4 or 5 at a time, and then like run back and specifically face like 2 or 3 more while she got healed by someone out of range, and then like repeat that process until the whole group was dead, which is way worse than Clive bungas in and kills them all in 1 turn.
Basically, yeah. So with all that said, where I would place them, I know I praised Zeke a moment ago, and I love him. Great character, great voice acting. He's amazing. We love him, right? He has like no availability.
Yeah,
There's
there.
no way he's not in D tier, but I'd put him top of D tier.
Oh yeah, if you put him below Conrad, I would like smack you over the internet. Like, come on.
Yeah, no, like, well, Conrad has similar availability. There's 2 maps plus endgame, which in Conrad's case is Duma Tower. Duma Tower is 4 maps. Endgame for Alm would be also 2 maps. You know, it would be Rudolph plus Berkut, because the endgame of Act 5 is shared. So Conrad actually has more availability than Zeke, but the maps are smaller, so I'd say it balances out in availability. But Zeke is more significant than Conrad by like a decent margin.
Yeah, Conrad is more of a flunky with decent enough stats, I feel like. It looks really weird though to have Atlas a tier over Zeke though, I gotta say. So maybe I should move him back down.
For the record, in my list, he's below Conrad.
Yeah, I know he said that. I'm gonna put him like below Zeke. Like, I know I tried to make him like a case for him in C tier, but it doesn't feel right to have like a tier above Zeke. Like maybe the same tier.
He's basically a flunky.
Yeah, a flunky with some utility. But I feel like if you use him as a flunky, he still has less relevant combats than Zeke. And if you use him full time, the investment is very 100%. Significant. So
yeah. Okay. As for Mathilda, I would put her at the top of B tier, personally, because while on the average efficient playthrough, where she's just bonking, you know, witches and arcanists, and, like, providing support for Clive, like, if you were to use her, she'd still be more significant than Python. They both have a grinding requirement, because they would be more efficient to grind Mathilda to Gold Knight than it would be to just let her
put up with
work as a paladin in Act 4, right?
Yeah.
For record, if you want to grind Mathilda, what you do is you get an Arcanist spawn from Sluicegate, and you let it ambush you on the safe fort. By ambushing you, they will walk closer than if you attacked into them on turn 0. Then on turn 1, you go on the stairs, and then the Arcanists will like suicide into Mathilda at 1 range, because one of them will block 2 range, and then they suicide into her.
I remember that trick.
And she has really good res.
Oh yeah.
So that would be how you would train her.
Yeah, that sounds like a big distance, but actually I think you get some reinforcements before you can get to Sluicegate reasonably. So you're probably going to face some anyway.
Yeah.
Yeah.
You're probably going to face some anyways, but like, I still have to penalize it a little, right? Because the XP would be given elsewhere if it wasn't given to her.
Yeah, probably. Okay, so you said above Python. So that means Clive is D tier, right?
Of course. No, personally, I would put Clive as either above or just below Mage Tobin. In fact, in my heart, Clive is S tier. In my brain, he's up for A+.
Fair enough. But you think he's better than Faden?
I would say so. Physics is not that significant. Rescue, if you want to think about like availability, how long do you have Rescue? You have it like at the end of Act 3, maybe early Act 4. Like, it's not a tool that's available to her most of the time. And even when it is available to her, it is not as major as Clive's insane combat, or more accurately, the Rider's Bane, who he just happens to be the best at using his combat.
Yeah, Clive is the Rider's Bane. But now you're making Faye sound kind of bad, though, right? But because you said she was good in every map she's in.
Yeah, she is, but she's never the best, right?
Oh yeah, true. Clive is in a lot of top 3s at the very least.
Yeah, like, Clive is, like, for me, he's top 3 in, like, the first map of Act 3. He's not top 3 in the last map of Act 1, but he's really good if he's promoted. He's, like, top 3 on the Berkut map, on Tree 5, on the Archer map. On Sluicegate, he's not top 3, but he still contributes, like, about as much as every other unit, because he just does a lot of damage, right? And then in Act 4, he's really good.
Mm-hmm.
Because at that point, he has Gold Knight bases.
Mm-hmm. All right, I'll buy it. We'll put him 2 tiers above Mathilda. Well, I mean A+ versus B+, but still.
Yeah.
Yeah, sure.
Personally, I want to put him above Tobin, because Tobin is insane in early Act 1. But by that same token, Clive is insane in Act 3, and still really good in Act 4. Like, he lasts way longer.
Yeah, true. Like you said, Tobin has to choose between early and late game. For like mage versus thingy. Clive doesn't really have a choice, but he's good long and short term, I guess. He just doesn't have Act 1 though, basically. He has like one map there. Yeah,
he has one map in Act 1. Oh, but which, by the way, I mentioned making him a paladin before 1E. Because you're probably grinding Python in an efficient setting, he can reach that by just chipping people over like the turns you're grinding Python. Like by setting up kills for other people, he will reach paladin because of bonus EXP too. Because the thing is, Clive has really decent base defense, like 7 or 8. I think 8. So a lot of the enemies actually like dink him for like 1 damage. So unless you have like a defense plus Python or something, they're very likely to go into someone else instead of suiciding on him. So you can just use him to chip, and by the time you're done, he's going to be a paladin.
What a bro! He's such as much a bro in gameplay as he is in the story.
Yeah.
What a character! What a man!
Which, and also I want to like get ahead of the comments real quick. I know we literally just penalized Mathilda for grinding, despite it being a fight you'd probably do anyways. And then I say, yeah, but Clive gets to Paladin by doing a grind you'd do anyways. I get that that's similar, but even if you discount that, I would still keep the same placements. Because even if he's not a Paladin for Zofia Gate, he's probably still going to promote to Gold Knight by the end of Act 3. He's still going to be really good with the Rider's Vein. He's still going to be an amazing unit. He's just not going to be as good in one specific map.
Yeah.
Well, if you don't give Mathilda all that EXP, she's going to struggle through most of Act 4.
Yeah, that and Clive isn't draining as much XP from other units as Mathilda is with her grind, because Mathilda has to like absorb all these Dark Mages, whereas Clive is literally just taking chip XP. Other people get the kills.
Clive grinds 1 level, Mathilda grinds, 3 levels.
Yeah, big difference. So not quite the same thing. Like obviously, slight penalty for having to do it, but it's probably something you're doing anyway. Like a very slight penalty.
Yeah, and again, even if you don't do it, he's still good. He's just less good, but he's less good with less investment.
Yeah.
Like, wow, who would have thought?
Yeah. Tons of little things that, nuance the situation that at first sight seems similar. Okay. Did we do all the units? Did we discuss all the boys?
I think so.
We did the calves, we did the villagers, we did the mages, and we did the speed rounds. Damn. That only took us 20 minutes plus the hell what's his length? I think I said it was like, I think we basically did it for 2 hours, roughly speaking. So I'm probably gonna cut it in 2
hours. Yeah.
I think I'll cut it in 2. But I'm sure they'll survive. So that means this is actually part 3. So I hope everyone enjoyed it. I had a really good time learning more, and I need to boot up my SoV. I just found my capture card cable again and my DS. So when I have a less busy schedule, I will definitely try some of these things out, like Dreadloop and Super Clive, I guess we will call it. Force I've already tried.
SoV Let's Play number 3 moment.
I know about that, but I might put some footage in here somewhere. I'll probably still use your draft footage in the bottom right, because it's a nice. I didn't download 7 hours not to use it though.
Yeah. I had some fun. I will say, I was in the comments of the last video answering questions or arguments people had with the placements. I'm not trying to put anyone down, but I like talking about this game. If you have a position you disagree with, you're free to at me, whether that's on Twitter or in Mecha's Discord, and I'll be happy to talk about it.
Finally, someone who doesn't cower in fear after saying a controversial take. Someone who doesn't go, "Oh, this controversial take. Don't at me though." This guy, he's down for a fight. Bring it.
No, man. No. I love arguing online as long as it doesn't get super petty.
Exactly.
I live for it. I've been. Sometimes I'll get in a spat over something, and I've been told by Lolo, who is the organizer for Low Fire Emblem, something along the lines of, "I don't get how you have this much energy to argue with people online. no, I just like it. It's fun. So
It gives you
come at
energy.
me, and
It's what keeps
yeah,
you going.
it'll be fun.
This is how he gets up in the
I
morning.
see someone's. I see someone saying that Mathilda is better than Clive, and there's like an alarm in my room that goes off. You know, I get those like red glowing eyes, and I just have to go on. And
There's this like big lamp outside that like shines on the apartment above, across the street. That's
Yes.
it's like a giant Clive with 2 wings on it. It's like
yeah,
it's like a
I
bat
think
with
our
Clive's
cult
haircut.
is like responsible for half of those warnings.
Yes. Anyway, I think that's long enough. 2 videos. I'm gonna sign off, and I'll see you guys around for another review at some point. Thanks for joining me, Peeved. Really enjoyed it.
It's been enjoyable.
See ya.